businesses are all the same. You know, like Richard, hearing you talk about love and then thinking about the way that I interact with the people that I work with, that's where we're starting from. I mean, it's a different lens. So, and then Chris, it sounds like there's an aspect of that for you as well. And um, just all these different layers of first understanding where you sit and welcoming that in to then understand how you can show up for other people, whether that's your team or whether you're trying to connect with clients or whatever it may be. And then the actual action. But the thing about action is we got to be a little bit careful, right? If we're just doing, then we get away from the being and we forget the work that we did in the beginning. So I like how we all sit in different places, but yet I have this sense that we're all kind of dancing around the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys see that?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, yeah. I think we all, at the end of the day, we're all kind of saying the same thing. Chris said it in a different way. I mean, he looks in towards itself. I mean, you're saying the same thing when you said that the people that you're working with, you all look inwardly as well first. I didn't quite understand. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, it's the same thing we're saying. So I mean, in a way, that's what I mean by loving yourself first. You have to take note of where you are in your sense of self and groundedness and in your being. Is this the right place? Am I with the right people? All these questions needs to be, felt, not just thought of, but it has to feel right in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how we can know, if it's the right thing, if we can make the correct decision to go along in that business arrangement, you know, with those specific people, if it feels right. And so this is part of the work that I've been putting together and understanding those dynamics, and really the how-tos behind it. And I really see that, it's exciting, to really share it with young people as well, because it's really essentially meant for them, but of course it's for everyone. But especially because once it starts, at an early age, once you begin to start orienting your perspective in terms of how you're showing up, and especially in this time that I was sharing about, this grand conjunction and this new portal that we're entering to, that's in human design. We talk about this, the next 7 years of this, coming into this place of this mutation and this transition from this old world into this new world. It's all the same language, but just using it differently. It's all pointing for us to really come into that place of there's change upon us, and if we don't move with it, then it could be very daunting. It can be very painful. It can be left behind in the old paradigm, the old way of seeing things. It's like using an old software, and it's the softwares are getting upgraded, and if we're still putting around in that old software and yelling and screaming because it's not working properly, then then there will be a lot of people like that, and you just have a hard time. It's upgrade time, and that's what's going on. We're upgrading our inner software, and in preparation to play, to communicate, to operate in this new paradigm, which is calling for a totally different way of how we communicate with each other, how we relate to each other, how we want to create a new bargain, because the old bargains, that's going out the window too. And just imagine, what it takes to keep these cities going, New York City, Hong Kong, Paris, and all these big cities around, all of these places. To feed all of these people, it takes, an incredible amount of the bargain that was holding it all together, to make all of these deals between all of these distributors and all this one and that one, and to get it all working. It's based on certain rules and bargains and laws and certain things that we've set in place to keep it all together. And just imagine all of that is changing. It's changing, and it literally is. We can see it. Look at the government. Look at all the fights and disagreements here in the American government. It's happening around the world as well. Chile, they got rid of their entire constitution, redoing a new one. I mean, it's happening in a large scale. And which means this time that we're entering into, this new paradigm, it's going to call for new rules, new bargains, new agreements, how we communicate. And if the feeling, if the communication, if the interaction, if it doesn't feel right, then it's not right to go into that kind of bargain. It's not based on the old anymore. I mean, some of the old stuff still works, but we have to sift through it and pull the ones that still relate, and the ones that don't, we have to change it. And that's the time we're in. It's in this major change on a global sense and in the inner sense as well. So